Why does making friends as adults feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack? Honestly, it's really hard, but over the holidays, I noticed on social media lots of people talking about wanting to build relationships, make new friends, get community in the new year. And so I thought, well, there's not a better time than now to kick off how do we make friends as adults? Before we start talking about how to make friends as adults, we have to talk about why this is so hard. Because everyone seems to agree at this point, making friends as adults is complicated. In fact, I just got off voice DMs with a friend talking about all the different issues. There's so many nuances. Everyone's in a different spot. And honestly, we could give a list 50 long, but we're gonna talk about 3 main issues today and then what we can start doing about it. And then we'll continue that conversation in the weeks to come. And I'm gonna share with you some of my own story on this journey of trying to make friends as adults too. Welcome to the Creating Opportunities podcast. This is a place where we help smart, ambitious professionals create better relationships for success. And why? Because people matter. They're messy, but they make life better and they matter. And I am your host, Cassandra. I am a speaker, trainer, an iced coffee lover. It's important you know that. And I am here to help you make deeper connections. So let's get into it. Okay, let me start by saying if making friends now as a grown-up, as a someone over, let's say over the age of 22 is hard, I get it. I completely understand. I haven't had this all figured out. I'm getting better at pieces, but part of the reason I wanted to do this series, or a big reason why I wanted to do it, is because I fully recognize I am an extrovert who is okay putting myself out there, and I have thought more about loneliness, lack of community, want of friendships, cried myself to sleep at night before, woken up and seen Instagrams of things I wasn't a part of and cried then too. I have done more of that in the last 4 years than ever. And if I, as an extrovert, am feeling these things and think this is hard, as somebody who doesn't have much issue putting themselves out there, I know other people have to be struggling with this too. So please know what we're going to talk about, I don't think is like easy. I honestly think majority of this is about perseverance, which we don't want to hear, but is the truth. So I get it if you have had a hard time with this. I get it because I've lived it. In 2020, I moved from California to Phoenix, Arizona. And I'll be honest, even before that, when I moved back to Southern California after grad school, I lived back in Orange County. I had family there and I made a couple of friends at church and I had some friends from work. That sustained me. That was good. But I didn't have that like main friend group that I had in my 20s in LA. So even then, things had already started to change. But when I moved here, I moved in the middle of the pandemic, and my best friend lives about 45 minutes away, but she has a family, and 45 minutes, it's not like we can see each other 3 times a week. And I knew one other person in town who I could like get a coffee with, right? That's something. I am not ignoring that that is something. Like if you had to move somewhere where you truly know not one soul, deepest sympathy for you. But still, 2 people is not enough to sustain, right? I won't get into the nitty gritty of it, but over the last 4 years, I joined Bible studies at church, and I would make a friend for a couple of months that I would have a dinner here or there, or one person, you know, it was like every week we were doing something together. I think she was lonely too. And once she found someone that she liked more than me, she ditched me for that person. It was a friend breakup. That's a story for another day, but I know I'm not the only one who's been through them. And some people, you know, I met, we hung out for a while, and I think we both just kind of realized we're different people. We're not going to connect full on be best friends. And that's okay. I think both of us are like, if I saw that person on the street, I wouldn't be mad at them, right? And I have a feeling that's true for a lot of you too. I'm sharing this because I don't think these experiences of mine are abnormal, very unique, etc. I think this is what a lot of us are going through. So all this to say, over the 4 years, I have starts and stops of trying to make friends, and it is hard, and it is exhausting, and it is downright defeating at times. Womp womp. I mean, I told you we would like get to good stuff here, but we gotta start with I'm a realist, and we've got to start with the realism of this. I don't like when people just sugarcoat. There's some books out there that kind of talk about all of this, like, yeah, just, you know, go out and say hello to people and they'll be your friend. It doesn't work that way. So I want to start off by letting you know that I understand this can be tiring. It is hard. I'm not going to pretend it's not hard, but I believe people matter. And I believe it is worth us making an effort and trying to make friends, because we need people to make life better. We literally die earlier if we don't have relationships. There's so much around our health and community and having people in our lives that this is something I think we fight for, even if it's really hard, even if we do cry in bed sometimes while we're trying to figure it out. I'm happy to say I have made friends. Spoiler alert, part of it I think is just don't give up. As defeating as it can feel at times, I have found friends, and down the road on this I will give you the exact steps I took, just so you can adapt those and try for yourself. But for today, I want you to know I've been there. I have figured out some of the things that are keeping us from good friendships that I had to change, that maybe you have to change, and some of the things I'm seeing with other people that need to change, that are problems that are getting in our way. So, first thing that is blocking us from having good friends as adults: hyper customization. Now, if you followed me on my career channel, I would talk about this over there too in a different way, but I like to say we live in the Chipotle world. We get to decide exactly what we want: white rice, brown rice, how much of it, double protein with guac on the side. Like, we are customized and controlling so many parts of our life. And on the career side, I used to talk about that of like, that's what made job searching so hard, because it was unknown and we're not good with the unknown. But the other side that I started to realize over the last couple of years is we are niching ourselves out of friendship. We are niching ourselves out of relationships, because before, back in the olden days, I'm talking like 2000, you know, like let's take college for example. You got in a dorm, a residence hall. You got in a residence hall and you learned about the people on your floor, and they became your friends because they were the other people on your floor, and you found out they had different musical tastes than you, and they liked things that were different than you, and you heard their stories and they heard yours, and it didn't matter that everything didn't line up. And I really want you, like, some of the stuff I'm going to talk about today, I really want you to take a minute and think about, because a lot of it at face value is very easy to go, no, that's not true. But if you really think about it, we have lost this case in particular, we have lost our tolerance for people who are different than us in what they like, dislike, want to talk about, etc. Because the majority of our days, we are getting to look at exactly what we want on our phones, watch exactly what we want on TV, when we want to watch it. We don't have to sit through anything we don't want to hear about. You don't want to hear ads? You don't have to hear ads. You don't want to watch that 30-minute show in the background to wait for your sitcom to come on? You don't have to do that anymore. We have lost our tolerance for things that are not customized exactly to us. I think this is a huge problem people did not see coming when we started customizing everything in our world. Like, our tolerance for other people is going down rapidly. I guess with this, it's that we've been conditioned now to expect connection to be effortless, because everything we like effortlessly comes in front of us. And so having to work at a relationship, hear about somebody's stories that you don't care about at certain points, it's just making it harder. And I feel like that openness is slipping away, that ability to listen and hear other people and their interests and have them also listen and hear yours and still connect, because maybe it's more about your values are the same. Now, I'm not saying, remember, I said I met people and for one reason or another, we realized we didn't click. Maybe that was personality, maybe that was values, etc. But I think we're putting too much emphasis on likes and interests being the same instead of values being the same. And so because of that, we're just starting to not see see connection in the same way. So this is gonna sound kind of strange, but if you're watching this on YouTube, if this resonates with you, will you hit the like button so I kind of know how people are feeling about this topic? That would be really helpful. The second thing that is standing in our way is a lack of consistency. Here's what I mean by that. Very few of us are in the same rhythms anymore, and that lack of consistency makes forming friendships harder. Back in the day, you might go to church on Sundays and sit in the same spot and go to the same service every week, and you would see the same people around you and you would get to know them. Or if church isn't your thing, the same workout class or the same association meeting, anything, right? That's one version of it. That repetition gave you time to build trust and familiarity. But now, again, we live in a world that is so customized to who we are that consistency is rare. So even on the work schedule thing, right? We used to all kind of live on the same 9 to 5 schedule. Even if you worked for yourself, you probably worked on more of a 9 to 5 schedule. If you're a stay-at-home mom and you're picking up kids, you're on like an 8 to 3 schedule. There's rhythms that are the same. Well, now if you're in a corporate work environment or any sort of work environment other than working for yourself, you might be at home, or you might have staggered hours compared to everyone else on your team, or you come in on Mondays, but other people come in on Tuesdays. Like, none of us are in the same regular rhythms to consistently bump into each other, because now we get to customize. You know, you get to choose, oh, well, I don't want to go in on Fridays, so I'll go in on Thursdays. Somebody else loves going in on Fridays, so you never see each other. Or with church, people decide, oh, this week I'm not going to go to the 10 a.m. I'm going to go to the 8, or oh, I'm going to watch from home this Sunday. So you never build that consistency with each other. It makes it really hard to build a friendship if there's not consistency. And that lack of regularity makes it really hard to build relationships, because it goes to a different point, and I'll share more about this in a minute. Even when people are regularly showing up, there is something about the way our society is now that it's just taking longer to get people to open up to new people and build a friendship. So if it's already taking longer and then there's a lack of consistency, that's like doubling the time, which can make it feel exhausting. I know we're getting like real sad and want here. We got one more and then we'll lift it up of what you need to do to actually build the friendships. But I want you to be aware of these blockers to see how are these affecting me in my life, because I fully admit I've got them. I've got Sunday mornings where I go, I'm gonna watch from home today. I wanna go to this service instead of that service. Like, that's mine, where I go, oh, that's my convenience. Whereas before, people would just go, oh, my community group goes to second service, so I'm gonna go to second service because they do. Now we hyper customize. And then the last blocker I want to talk about, we are prioritizing productivity over people. And I am a productivity queen over here, y'all, but we have made our lives so productive, so efficient, that there is not room for people, that the messiness of people, that someone needing to call you and have a conversation throws off your whole day, so you just don't answer the phone. You're like, phone calls? What's a phone call? Okay, so we have glorified getting things done, that friendships feel like another task on our to-do list. People feel like an annoyance. Ugh, why is the amount of times I've seen somebody go, ugh, why are they calling me right now? The amount of times I've thought that, okay? Really, we're just too focused on productivity. I mean, think about it too. We are trying to cram so freaking much into our days that by the time you're done with a day of working, running errands, going to the gym, thinking about eating right, oh, did you meditate today or have your quiet time or whatever? At the end of the day, when somebody calls or when you think of a friend and you want to text them, it's like, I don't have the energy for that right now. Or a friend texts you and wants you to text back, I can't, it's too much, right? Productivity is making people feel real tiring. But honestly, it's not that we don't want friends, it's that a lot of us are tapped out. The irony, though, is that friendships can be the antidote to burnout. There's study after study that shows that relationships increase our happiness and can reduce stress. So if we would put some effort into those, we would get some energy back. even for the introverts, okay? Even if you're an introvert, you still need people. However, when we are stuck in productivity mode, it is hard to think about fostering relationships. So what can we do? Well, this is what we're going to spend the next couple of weeks exploring, but there are a couple of things I definitely want to talk about today. First off, I just want to be honest, it is hard. Like, there's no magic solution here. It is hard to make friends as an adult because of the things I just talked about, but I think we need to fight for it. This just came to my head right now, so I do not have this like quote perfect, but Justin Whitmore early in his book, We Need People, talked about the current of life is trying to move us away from people, and we have to actively fight against that current. And I believe that's true. If you believe relationships matter, if you believe people matter, it is going to take effort, and we've got to fight against what society, what our world right now is built to keep us all moving in the opposite direction and become lonelier than ever. Let me go fix the window. So even though it's hard, here are the things I would suggest doing. Number one, be consistent. Show up places consistently. Now, I'm not gonna tell you what place you need to show up. We can talk more about ideas on that in another episode. And I have an episode from last year on 10 places to meet people. So if you're like, I don't even have a place to show up consistently, go watch that. I'll put it in the show notes. I'll put a card to it right here and in the description. But be consistent. Keep showing up. If you're the one who shows up every single week, people are going to start seeing you. Now, the second one, and I could have started here, be friendly. If you want to make a friend, you need to look friendly. This is shocking. I know this is like, what? Most of us do not give open, friendly energy when we're out in the world. And I will be honest, I tell people there are certain situations where I have real F off energy. I can shut it down fast, okay? If I do not want certain people approaching me, I can turn it on real quick to let you know this is not a good time. However, I also just got complimented yesterday by somebody at a group who said, I just love the energy you bring here. Like, you are warm and friendly, and like, I want to come sit over here with you guys. And I went, well, you can come sit with us. I'm not doing anything crazy. When I say be friendly, I mean, are you smiling? Do you look at people and say good morning when you enter a room? You know, in that video on, or that episode on 10 places to meet people, I brought up a workout class. That's coming in the morning and just to the person who sits next to you saying, good morning. That's it. You're not a crazy person. If they look at you like they're weird, like you're weird, remember, everyone is much more guarded now. And so they're not used to anyone being friendly. So it's gonna feel kind of strange at first for them and for you, but do it. And over time, people are going to warm up. They're going to thaw. They're going to warm up. They're going to say, oh, hi, good morning. Like, you need to be the friendly one so that other people will be friendly too. And honestly, there is, I don't mean to sound woo-woo, but there is something kind of energetic about this of like, if you go in with an attitude of, I'm just gonna be open and happy as I walk into this coffee shop, people will smile at you. People will approach you. So try and start creating that energy, but smiling helps. And then be open to broadening your interests in conversations. I'm not saying that you have to now take up things that you don't like doing just so that you can make friends, unless you want to challenge yourself to do something uncomfortable, but just start being aware of the people around you and what they're interested in, and ask them questions about what they're interested in, even if you're not interested in the subject. Be interested because they're interested. And then lastly, prioritize people over productivity. Here's my big question for you. Do you have time and space for people? I hear from people who say, oh, I want friends, but they leave no room open on their calendar for people. Or you have to fit in extremely tight boundaries. We all have our boundaries, okay? But there needs to be some amount of openness, some amount of bending to make new friends. So do you have time on your schedule for people? Can you make time for people? If not, I I would look at the calendar and start trying to figure that out. How can you not your calendar that there's not time for some voice DMs back and forth with a friend or text messaging somebody? If you allow space for friendships, I think there's more opportunity for friendships to show up. Now, the other part with that, we're going to talk a lot more about this next week, is you have to make an effort. Okay, this is real truth time. I have been in multiple groups where somebody has said, I want friends. Like, I'm lonely and I want friends, but like, I need the kind of friends who don't expect me to text them back. Not text back right away, not text back in an hour, just not text back. Not text back, or like, I'm not gonna be the one to make the plans. Okay, so you want a friend, but you don't wanna have to do any work. Now, again, we'll talk next week more about this topic and what I mean by it, but I need you to know right now, friendships take effort. You have to put in effort into any relationship, right? It's the same reason why people who are married a lot of times still have date night. They need to cultivate that relationship on an ongoing basis. You can't have a friendship where you never reach out to the person, where you never ask them how they're doing, or where you only see each other at scheduled events that you had nothing to do with. Like, you need to be able to make some sort of effort. So those are the things I would start thinking about. I would start being aware of and seeing what you can change. I know this episode is a little bit of tough love for some of you. I hope others of you feel seen today, that you know you're not alone. And next week we will talk about more in depth what we can do about it to start making friends this year. And let me know what you think. You know, have you seen these blockers show up in your own life, or what else has happened for you? Feel free to comment below or send me an email. It's in the show notes. I would love to hear your stories. And just remember, while it does take effort, while it can be something you have to fight for, people are worth it. Relationships are worth it. Now, let's be real. Adult friendships can feel like an uphill climb. Between work, family, life's endless responsibilities, it's easy to feel that everyone else has their friend group figured out, and yet we hear how people are lonely, want friends, but somehow we just don't have them. Last episode, we talked about why that's the case, what's going on in society that's making it harder. But today we'll talk about the big secret to adult friendships, and it's that you have to go first. Friendships don't fall out of the sky. You cannot wait for an invitation. You have to go first. We are breaking down exactly how to take initiative without overthinking it, build the confidence to start conversations, and make an effort to connect authentically without feeling forced, including when to just realize this one's not gonna work out and move on. If you've ever wanted friendships and thought, I just don't know where to start, this episode is for you. All right, so step number one, be brave, go first. I think this is one that if you have been trying to make friends, if you have been going first, you want to punch me right now. I'll just be honest. You're like, I would love for somebody else to take the initiative. I always take the initiative. And here's what I found out. That's just life. You are going to have to go first. And on those off chances where someone goes first and extends an olive branch to you, asks you to lunch, asks you for your number, etc., consider that a blessing and a miracle, because what I have learned is if we want friends, we have to make the effort and go first. Honestly, it's sort of funny how much we want other people to be the initiator and take that off our plates. It's all sort of subconscious. No one's purposely going, no, I shouldn't have to make the effort. Somebody should ask me. Actually, I know one person who's that way, but majority of people are not. So for example, I had a friend who was going to a workshop one night. She was on her way there and she voice messaged me and was like, yeah, I'm headed to the workshop. I hope people are nice. Like, I hope people are friendly and will be open to me. And it was very, again, just subconscious, but it was very passive of, I hope other people are going to welcome me in. And I messaged her back and I went, hey, I need you to remember everyone else is just as nervous as you are. And while you all went there to learn this skill, it was like a crafting workshop, people probably want other people to be nice and say hello too. And they're just nervous. And so I need you to go first. I need you to say hi to the person next to you. I need you to ask somebody what brought them to the class. You have to go first. So that's what I mean by it. It goes with what I talked about last week of to get friends, you need to be friendly. Smile, say hello. When you walk in a room, say good morning. Don't wait for other people to do it. You're going to be the one to go first and say hello with a smile and start opening up with warmth so that other people want to be friends. It sounds sort of silly that it's so small, but those small interactions lead to bigger, deeper relationships over time. We got to start somewhere, right? And I would love to know, have you ever been the one to go first in a friendship? Let me know about your experience in the comments. And so if you're going first, that means you also might probably need to be the first one to set up a coffee date, or let's get lunch together, or send the first text message, etc. But that doesn't mean it should be all on you for all time. So here's something I learned off the last couple of years of trying to make friends. I have it written on my wall. I have a list of things I've learned that I keep on my wall. And one of them, it just says, effort, not force. I will make an effort, but I am not going to force a friendship. So that means that I'm gonna ask you to lunch, I'm gonna ask you to coffee, but if you never text me, if you never reciprocate and say, hey, I was thinking about getting a coffee tomorrow, you wanna come meet me? If it's always on me to take the first step, I'm probably gonna let that relationship go. It doesn't mean there's ill will. Sometimes it's just that you're in different places in life. I have one person in my life that I just go, they're just too busy. I think they like me, I think they'd wanna be friends, but they are too busy and I do not fit into their life. However, I can't be the one to keep asking them how they're doing and never get anything in response. So, while I want you to go first, I want you to make effort, but we're not gonna force a friendship. Now, please keep in mind, I did not say keep score. I did not say this is tit for tat of well, I asked them to coffee, so they better ask me first next time. Or some people are not great at setting plans, but they're great at texting you and saying, hey, I was thinking about you, how are you doing? That's fine. There just needs to be something on their end, some reciprocity that they're into this relationship too, right? That they want this friendship also. So we all have our strengths, but if we feel like we're starting to force it, I've got to make this person like me, no, we need to let that one go. Time to move on. Friendships should feel mutual. And so if you get in a situation similar to what I just described, where you feel like it is all on me and you need to let that one go, it's not a failure. You didn't do anything wrong. You're just making space for the right people to come in. Then step 3, we build these relationships bit by bit. So friendships aren't instant. I know this goes to something I said last week too of some of this stuff is gonna sound obvious, but we don't realize how much our subconscious has taught us that it should be instant. We see exactly what we want online. We watch exactly what we want on TV. We do tend to see people and think we should hit it off immediately. Sometimes it's oh, that person, they said something that was interesting. I need to get to know them a little bit more. I need to grow in that relationship. Honestly, my best friends in life were not the people that we hit it off on the first conversation. They were people that I grew to know over time and went, I really enjoyed this person as I got to know them better, right? Probably the same for you. And yet we live in a world now where we go, oh, I talked to that person for 2 minutes and I don't really care about, well, get to know them a little bit better. So remember that it's going to take ongoing work. It's like watering plants. You need to put in a little bit of effort ongoing. So a text here, an invite to coffee there, something to keep that relationship going. And then to keep that friendship in general, I will say having something standing, like a standing appointment of some kind, is helpful. For example, my best friend and I, we have a standing phone call every Thursday. Now, are there certain ones where we miss and text each other and say, hey, I can't do it today? Of course. But because majority of Thursdays we have that phone call, we're in touch in each other's lives. We know what's going on with each other, so you always feel connected, like the real sense of the word, not the social media internet sense of the word. So if you believe in the power of these small interactions building over time, I would love for you to put the word consistency in the comments, just so I know where y'all were tracking with me. Since we can't talk on podcasts or on YouTube the same way we can on, let's say, Instagram, those sorts of things really help me out. Honestly, making friends as adults takes courage, consistency, and effort. But the reward? A richer, more connected life. Start by going first. Make an effort. Build those connections step by step. And remember, meaningful friendships don't just happen, they're created. And speaking of that, next time we are going to go over some common myths and unspoken beliefs about adult friendships. These are the things I believe are holding you back that you might not even realize you're doing. So don't miss that episode. It'll come out next week. Now, if you're looking to make more friends and more relationships in your professional world, or maybe you just want to be better at mingling at the next birthday party, you should check out my on-demand workshop, Confidently Connect, How to Network at In-Person Events. It actually gives you all the skills for like, how do I go approach somebody? What do I talk to them about? So you can check that out in the show notes or the description box below. And before we go, it's your turn. Let me know in the comments, which yes, on Spotify, there are comments too. What's one step you'll take this week to start or strengthen a friendship? Remember, people make life better, and you have the power to create the connections that you want. Are your beliefs about friendship holding you back? Let's be real, friendship in adulthood can feel complicated. Maybe you've thought everybody already has their friends, or I'm the only person who's still trying to find a new friend, it's too late. Well, those are just two of the myths that we need to talk about today. We're going to discuss why beliefs like those and a lot of others might be holding you back and uncover the truth about what it really takes to create and sustain meaningful friendships as adults. Welcome to the Creating Opportunities podcast. This is a place where we help smart, ambitious professionals create better relationships for success. And why? Because people matter. They're messy, but they make life better and they matter. And I am your host, Cassandra. I am a speaker, trainer, an iced coffee lover. It's important you know that. And I am here to help you make deeper connections. So let's get into it. Okay, so jumping straight into these myths. Myth number one, everybody already has their friends. Now, I'll be honest, with a lot of myths or commonly held beliefs around friendship, there is some truth, but it's not all true. So do a lot of people have their friends already? I don't even know if I can say that. Do some people already have their group? Yes, but not everybody. Honestly, I was talking with a friend who has lived here in Phoenix her whole life. She has a great friend group. Her friends and their husbands are friends with her husband. Like, it all intersects together in her life. And she said, she's like, honestly, I think one of the biggest problems for making friends as adults is everyone already has their friends. Like, I have my group. And I went, it's not completely true. You do already have your group, but that doesn't mean everyone does. I think there's a ton of people who have moved. If you've moved over the age of like 28, it gets harder to make friends because there are people who do have their groups, etc., but you're not the only person who has moved. So there are other people looking for friends. And I pointed out to her, I might not be part of your main friend group, but we are friends, and so you made room for me. So there are places where you can still fit in. But I do want to acknowledge that yes, there is like a half truth to this, which is why beliefs like this are so easy to hold on to, because there is a little truth in that, and then we take that and twist it and make it bigger than it really is. And here's the thing. Even if those people say, oh, everybody already has their friends, well, she made room for me. And research shows people are searching for close friends, right? The loneliness epidemic is higher than ever. So that means there are other people out there who want friends. I think one piece of this is that because in our heads we're going, oh, well, they already have their friends, they don't need me. We assume we don't need to reach out. We assume rejection before we even ask. And so what I would encourage you to do is if you meet someone new that seems like they already have their friends, or if this is kind of the mindset you've been going along with in general, start reaching out. Let people decide, yes, I want to join in, or no, I don't. We select for people a lot. I used to talk about this with job searching too. We wouldn't apply for jobs because we assume, oh, they're going to reject me. So like we're rejecting ourselves so they can't reject us. We do the same thing in friendships. So start reaching out anyways and just say like, hey, do you want to get coffee one day? Or hey, I'm getting a group of people together to go on a hike. Like try it anyway. Honestly, just start embracing the concept of connection. I think I maybe talked about this before, but if you have an open energy, it will start drawing people. But as we also talked about last week, you do often have to go first. So start reaching out. Now, I should say before we move on to myth 2, will you let me know in the comments, whether on YouTube or Spotify, Apple, get it together, add comments. Let me know which of these myths has been the one that kind of made you go, ooh, that's the one I keep believing, and how, just let me know which one resonates with you. Myth number 2, it's too late to start. Kind of goes along with number 1 of everyone already has their friends. It's too late. I'm too set in my ways. I actually saw someone comment something similar to this the other day. I'm too old. There's not time for this anymore. It's never too late. You can meet someone tomorrow. Here's what I think is interesting. In romantic relationships, we romanticize this idea of like, tomorrow you could bump into the person to be your husband, wife, or the love of your life. You never know when they're around the corner. But we don't do the same thing with friendships. We don't do the same thing with professional opportunities. Somehow that idea of that amazing opportunity is only romanticized and held for romantic relationships. And I understand it is a romanticized idea, but it's possible anywhere else too. So in your work relationships, in your friendship circles, it's possible. So it's never too late. Now, I think with the it's too late to start, the real thing behind it is I'm tired of trying. And believe me, that I get. Let me tell you, as someone who has tried again, if you're tired of trying, I completely understand. Next week, I'm gonna share with you some things I did this past year that helped me make friends that maybe could work for you too, or you can try them on for size. But here's what I would tell you overall. If you are tired of trying, I deeply empathize, but also if we don't try, we're home alone. And I don't wanna be home alone for the rest of time. So try again. And honestly, here's something with the it's too late to find friends. Maybe we're looking in the wrong age groups. Maybe your lifestyle fits someone who's older for where you live. Maybe for your lifestyle, it fits someone younger than everyone else your age. So maybe we need to start getting over age and start looking in different pockets of people for who could be more readily available to be friends with you at this stage in your life, because age and stage don't always match up. I know I talk about church stuff a lot, but there used to be like Sunday school classes for adults based off ages and stages, and they always put the two things together. And it's like, we now live in a world where your age does not mean you're at the same stage as everyone else your age, so maybe we need to be looking by stage and not age, because they no longer go together. So I think one of the keys to getting over this myth and trying again in a way that maybe isn't as difficult is keep trying to find new environments that work for you. Try joining a book club. Try joining a hiking group. Volunteer somewhere more than once. Volunteer somewhere where you're showing up every Friday afternoon or something like that. And honestly, that's the thing, is try these things and then keep showing up. I believe I talked about it before, but it takes longer now. So you have to show up for a while, and then you have to be willing to be the one to say hi. Y'all, get ready for myths 3 and 4. These are the two that I think I see more than anything else. Myth number 3, I believe it's subconscious. Friendship has to be instant. I don't think people out loud, if I said, do you think friendship has to be instant, that you meet somebody and you're instant friends? I don't think you or anyone would go, oh yes, it always has to be instant. I think you would meet me with, no, that's not true. Friendships build over time. But again, if you go back to what we talked about in the first episode in this series on how to make friends as adults, we live in a world where everything is customized to us. And now when we don't hit it off right away, we don't have as high a threshold, as high a tolerance to take the time to meet with someone again, to try again, and build towards that friendship. Not to mention, television and movies have romanticized romanticized is really the buzzword of this podcast episode, and I didn't mean for it to be, but television and movies have romanticized this idea of instant friendships. There's actually research out there that says it takes 200 hours of quality time to move from acquaintance to close friend. Now think about it. We used to have a lot more activities that we did with someone in person to kind of do that quickly, and now we don't see people as often and as regularly. So it's it's making that 200 hours span even longer. But either way, whether it is somebody that you see a lot, or it's somebody that you see once a week for 30 minutes, or you bump into in the school line, whatever it is, just know 200 hours to go from acquaintance to close friend. And then somewhere in between there, right? Not everyone has to be your close friend, but friend. Somewhere in between acquaintance to close friend, let's say 100 hours, just friend. I honestly think getting people to warm up to you too just takes more now. I can't remember if I already told this story, so if I did, I'm sorry. But 2 years ago, I joined Weight Watchers because one of my goals was I want to start losing weight. And my mom brought it up to me. She's like, why don't you go to a meeting version, not the online only one, because you used to do that and you liked it and you want to meet people. And I thought, well, it would be something I could go to once a week. And so I started showing up every week. I committed to going to the same meeting. I'd sit in the same spot. Most of the people who go to that meeting show up, I would say 3 out of 4 times a month. So I would see the same people, and I would come in, and as I came in and sat down, I'd say good morning to my area, and they'd kind of get off their phone for 2 seconds, go morning, and then go back to their phone. And it took 6 months of saying good morning and kind of, you know, oh, I like your nails. Thank you. They go back to their world. No one would really open up. And then one day I wore my hiking boots because I was going to go hike after. And the woman in front of me went, oh, do you hike? And all of a sudden we had a conversation, and now there's an opening. I went, oh my gosh, I did it. I got her to open up. And then the woman behind me and I started talking. It just took a really long time. It takes longer now. Everyone is so guarded. We are all more comfortable staring at our phones than putting them down to try and start a conversation with someone around us. So it takes longer, but it's worth the effort. If you came with me to a Weight Watchers meeting now, you would have no idea the first 6 months were the way they were. You would have no idea, okay? Somebody complimented me the other week about like the friendliness I bring to the room. 2 different people have said, oh, I want to come sit over here. You guys look like you're having fun. I went, you can come sit with us. I think I did share that part before. Y'all, that's 2 years later. The first 6 months was me just showing up and saying hi. Now here's the thing. Some of you might go, oh my gosh, I don't want to wait 6 months. But if you don't work on it now, 6 months from now, you'll still be alone in your house. If I hadn't shown up every week, 6 months later, I would still be alone and not have this fun thing to look forward to on Saturday mornings. So it's worth trying it. So now obviously Weight Watchers is an extremely specific example to use, but again, can you volunteer somewhere? Is there a lunch club you can join? Can you become a member of your ERG at work or an association? Anything that you can start showing up to on some sort of regular basis to help build the momentum of those 200 hours. But no, friendship is not going to be instant. Okay, myth number 4. This is another one that I think people go, no, that's not true. But look at your actions. Look at the actions of people around you. Friendship should always be easy or fun. Again, we live in a world where there's not much friction in what we consume, in what we take in on our day-to-day, in our selfish lifestyles where we choose exactly what we want, when we want it, how we want it. I mean, I was thinking about this too with vacations. Like, you used to go on vacation and you just dealt with whatever coffee was in the hotel. Now people like find out ahead, is it a Keurig or an espresso? And they bring their own specific pods. Or we Instacart to our room exactly what we want to have in our room. Before you just kind of went, they don't have that here, and you just dealt with it because you were on vacation. I hope that example makes sense, but just we live so customized in so many different ways that again, the fact that people are messy, that people are difficult, that things aren't always fun is harder for us. And so I think while no one would say it out loud, I see a lot of people going, oh, I don't want to be friends with people because they're just a lot, or like they have baggage. And there are points where people do kind of word vomit too much at the beginning. But there are also times where I hear people say things like, oh, I don't let difficult people into my life, or I don't let toxic people in. And I want to know what toxic is. Because here's the thing, we all go through hard times. And maybe that person isn't toxic, they're just going through a really hard time and they need this thing called support and care. And that's what friendships are about. And in those moments, they might not be as fun and upbeat as usual, but that's what friendship is for, to be the person who sits there and goes to lunch and hears their concerns and hears them again the next week, etc., while they're going through this time, knowing that they're going to be there for you too. But what I'm seeing more and more is people walking away when this happens. And I know this isn't just in my head. I saw there was a whole TikTok trend that went around like over a year ago of these Gen Z kids going, I think I protected my peace into loneliness, or I protected my peace into having no plans on a Friday night. Like, oops, I think I went too far. So this idea of setting boundaries, of being like, no, I'm protecting my peace. Like, you're a lot for me right now, and so I'm just gonna back off and you can deal with you. That's not caring for another human being, and that's how you wind up alone in certain situations. I'm not trying to blame. I'm saying this is one of those areas we got to look at and go, have I built the walls too high? Have I protected my peace that I'm expecting people to only be fun all the time, or to only bring me joy, when there are times where relationships should be more than that, right? Whether friendship or romantic, it's not always about fun and joy. It's about being there for each other. So remember, friendships are about mutual care, and being there for someone when they're in their lows creates deeper trust, which means that when you face challenges, they'll be there for you. I know there were times in my life where I was a difficult friend for some of my friends. I was depressed, I was having a hard time, and I know they had to sit through a lot of not that I was a bummer all the time. This is 10 plus years ago, but I know they had to sit through some conversations that were like, okay, Cassie, you got to get over this, but they stuck by me, and that meant a lot to me. And so when they went through stuff, of course, I wanted to be there for them too. So I think it's just something to look at and go, ooh, am I being the caring friend that I want? Now with this too, I've been talking about it more on a deeper level, but in all honesty, I think this goes to another myth of this, that friendships shouldn't take work. Now I did say friendships should be easy and fun. I guess this would be the other part of should be easy. There are people I know who say, oh, I really want friends, but I want the kind of friend who it's okay if I don't text you back, or, I'm not really great at making plans. Or in all honesty, I've had people just say, I really want friends. I'm really looking to make friends. And I've invited them to stuff, and they'll come, and I message them, and they never text and say, hey, I thought of you today, or hey, how are things going, or anything like that. And I can kind of see why friendship's not really working out for you. You're not trying. Now, maybe they just don't like me. I'll throw it out there. But I don't think that's the case. They're not putting any work into building friendships. And just like people now on the dating side are having to put work into getting on the apps and going on dates and seeing what works out, if you want friends, you have to put some work into it. Not tons of work, but we have to put work into any relationship. So that's a part of this too. Now I want to make it really clear as we kind of land the plane here that I am not blaming anyone here. I'm not trying to shame you in any way, but I think we have to look at what's holding us back. If we want to make friends, we all need to look at have I not been putting the work into it that I probably should? Have I been maybe focused too much on making excuses like everyone has their friends already? Let me regroup, let me try again. And if you want help with that, I actually have a set of templates called From Hello to Hello Again about how to connect and re-engage with people. It's specifically used for LinkedIn, but honestly, you can copy paste this message and send it to someone that you haven't talked to in 5 years and try and re-engage that friendship little by little. So if you want to check those out, you can get a link to it in the description box below or in the show notes. And again, let me know if any of these resonated with you, if you went, oof, that's the one that hit me, and how you want to change it. Next week, I will be sharing with you the 3 things I did last year that helped me make friends. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't checked out any of the other episodes, you can see them here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Making friends as adults is hard. There's a lot of false starts, there's awkward moments, and then there's wondering if you'll ever find anyone that you connect with. And if you've been with me during this series, you have heard me talk about the journey I've had myself over the years of moving from LA and Orange County to Phoenix and trying to find friends. And while last year some things really came together that I don't want to say I cracked the code, but I did some things that I think changed how I made friends, and they're things I think you can do too. And so today I'm going to share with you the 3 best things I did in 2024 to help me build connections and get back some of that community that had been missing. Plus, stick around for a bonus tip that took some relationships even deeper. It might not be for everyone, but I think it's worth sharing. Before we dive in, let's all just remember that building friendships takes intention. It does take a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of work, not hard work, but work, and prioritization. But it doesn't have to be as daunting as it seems. So let's talk about how I did it, the lessons I learned, and how I believe you can make it happen too. This isn't just about like, hey, listen to what I did. The whole point is take these strategies and adapt them for yourself. But before we get into what went well, I want to take a minute to recognize again, there were a lot of false starts. If you listen to that first episode, you know I had false starts. I tried multiple Bible studies. I kept trying to connect at church with Bible studies, with starting a community group. I tried a book club off of a Scottsdale friend group in Facebook groups. I had tried meetups for things. I joined a friend's book club, and here and there, again, I met a person here, I met a person there, but it never really stuck. So I just want that to be said of this is where things finally paid off in 2024, but I think a lot of those false starts were needed to get me there. So if you are right now in a place of, I feel like I've tried everything, just remember, try again. Take some time to rest and restore, and then try again. But hopefully these next things can help you make this happen a little faster. So first thing I did was I joined groups that felt right for me. And I had to look outside the normal places. Like I said, I normally in my 20s, even in my 30s, the place where I could find community was church. We could do whole other episodes for those of you who also go to church or feel displaced at church. We could do a whole other thing on why aren't we finding that at church anymore? That's a conversation for another day. But basically, the main ways I'd always made friendships happen were gone. They were not happening the same way anymore. And so I had to look at some other options. So I started to look for where are some other places that felt right for me. And so the thing I did was I started joining groups around business. Now, for you, it might not be business. I'm going to tell you my part, but adapt for this. What are groups you could join? So I joined several women's business groups. These were not those stiff and strict BNI style networking groups where I have to give you so many referrals and you have to give me so many referrals. These were more, hey, we're all business owners. We're all service providers. Let's get together once a month for an event and network, but in the sense of how I see it, relationship building. So at bare minimum, this gave me something to show up to once a month per group. So I had some things on my calendar. It gave me something to look forward to. It gave me some hope of maybe I'll meet somebody there. Also, in my case, these types of groups are filled with women who are more open to building a relationship. They might see it for business purposes, for can you get me referrals, things like that, but at least there was the possibility of openness there. So this was sort of my idea of cast a wide net. I'm gonna go to these different groups where I can meet a lot of people at one time. And yes, even though I'm an extrovert, walking in rooms of new people can be intimidating. Again, think through what rooms you can walk into that will feel right for you. Where are people going to be open to talking? For example, to give you some ideas of things that didn't work in 2023, I kept trying classes. I take a cooking class at Sur La Table, and interestingly, everyone at my table came alone too, but they all and I had to do a lot of work to get people to warm up and talk with one another. And there was no real way, even for me after that, to go, it's really nice talking to you. Could I get your email? It just didn't work, right? Or I took a charcuterie board making class and I was the only person who came alone. Everyone else came with a friend or a partner of some sort. And even the owner of the cheese place was like, oh yeah, you signed up alone, right? You're the only one who did. And I went, oh, thank you so much. They were not great places to meet other people who were open to meeting new people. So by going to a place where it was going to be filled with other people who are open to meeting new people, I opened the gates to having people who would be more welcoming, more receptive, which made talking to new people less intimidating. Now, for you, it might not be a business group, right? It might be finding a hiking meetup. I think, especially here in Arizona, there's tons of hiking groups. Those people know they like to hike, and the fact that they're joining a group like that means there is some openness to meeting new people, because they could just go hike alone if they wanted. So think about things like that. What can you join in that world? Or excuse me, what can you join in your world where there is a larger group and there'd be some openness? Another one I would think about is associations for your work, like whatever the industry association is for what you do. Is there a regional version? Do they have monthly meetings? Again, that's a place to show up every month. There might be extra calls you can go on with people, etc. There might be ways to meet new people off of that. Or is there an ERG in your company where you can meet more people who are like-minded with you in some way or have some similarity to start from? But the point is casting a wide net. Choose a group that casts a wide net. Now, if you're willing to try a group, please in the comments just write groups so I know that you're tracking with me. Little things like that help me know we're on the same page. So joining groups was step one, right? That was like, if we were gonna do a fun filter graph, this would be at the top like this. Next, I followed up with people. Again, this is one where, because of the type of group it was, people were more receptive to this, but I followed up, and I didn't do it with everybody, but people I met in these different groups, I would say, it was nice meeting you. Do you ever want to do a Zoom so we can learn more about each other? People would say yes. So that really helped in getting to know people better. Now, not all those people, right, are we now best friends, but one thing it did that was really helpful was then when I go to the next in-person event, now I'm not walking into a room of strangers or people that I met for 5 minutes last time. There are people I can go up to and go, oh, hi, how are you today? And ask them more about who, like, what's going on in their lives, because we had a deeper conversation. Now, I know it's really easy to look at that and go, well, yeah, you were at like a networking event, so people there are more open to that. For sure, that's why it worked for me. But I think even in like the hiking group scenario, you can still adapt this. Let's say you're on the hike and you talked longer with a couple of people than the whole group. You could say, hey, this has been really great talking with you guys. By any chance, do you want to go get coffee? Or, hey, after the next hike, do we want to go get breakfast together? Like, again, I know this means putting yourself out there, but if we want relationships, we have to put ourselves out there. We have to risk a little bit of rejection. And you know what? They might say no, but I don't think they're gonna say no in like a, no, you're crazy. It might just be, oh, I'd love to, but I always have my kid's soccer game after this or something. You know, it's not gonna be like a rejection of you. So I think it's worth trying to figure out, how do I take that big thing and then how do I go inward to a couple of one-on-one things just to get to know a couple people better. But then the next step is how I went back out. So this is my favorite thing I did all last year. I created a standing lunch date, and I invited people to this lunch. So remember, I joined different groups. I took people I'd met from those groups, people I'd done one-on-one calls with. Some people I hadn't. Some people I just had gotten their information when we were at a meeting. We talked for a while. I enjoyed them. And I put all these people on an email together and said, hey, I would love to go to lunch. So this worked because people want to meet other people, because FYI, other people are lonely too, or just want more friends, or want to connect with different people, or want to break from their day. And one thing I've noticed is a lot of people now have one-off friendships, but many are missing a group. Because we're not all in the same activities all the time, we're all kind of like going all over. We have like that person we have coffee with over here, that person we go walking with over there. And that's fine, but it also makes friendship almost feel a little bit more daunting because everything's a one-off. We don't get like consolidated time with a lot of people. So all these one-off people I invited to a lunch so we could all get together and all meet each other. And honestly, it's been one of my favorite things because, again, it's a standing thing on my calendar. It's something I can look forward to every month. Once a month is manageable. And I have heard from numerous people from the group, I love these lunches. Thank you so much for putting these together. Now, why I chose lunch is because honestly, as a solopreneur, working for myself, working from home, one of the things I miss about working in an office is getting together for lunch with coworkers and saying like, hey, do we want to walk across the street to the Habit today? Or getting a coffee together, etc. Those like communal breaks from the workday. And I know all my small business owner friends don't get that either. And so I said, well, why should those folks have all the fun? Let's bring that back in. So it was the thing I wanted to do, and I just invited other people to do it with me. The lunches, I will say, have been really helpful because I really made them simple. I always have them on a Friday. They're always at noon, and they're always at the same place. Now, for some, you could go, oh, that's boring. I'm the one creating them, and I don't want to have to think about I don't want decision fatigue every month of going, now where should we go for lunch this month? What should it be? It's like, nope, we always go to this place, and I chose a place that we all pay separate. It's all pay at a counter before we sit down, so we don't have to split a bill, any of those sorts of things. And it made, how do I want to say it? Like, by simplifying those decisions and making them once at the beginning of the year, it made it really easy to keep this up because there wasn't that decision fatigue. Because all I had to do was just send an email and go, hey, just remember, lunch is next Friday. Are you going to be able to make it? I didn't have to go, wait, which date is it? And what time is it at? And it's always at noon. It's always at the same spot. So while it doesn't have to be lunch, right? You don't have to do the exact same thing I did. I would suggest create a standing appointment, invite people to come do that thing with you, and then keep it consistent. So whether that's a late coffee on Saturday mornings or a walk on Thursday nights at a certain park or happy hour somewhere, truly, sky's the limit. You could have people come over for jewelry making every other Monday night. It doesn't matter what it is. Just keep it a standing appointment. And then the thing that was nice was, as I met new people throughout the year, I had something to invite them to. Hey, I have this lunch. I would love for you to come join. So I really encourage you to take those one-on-one friendships and then bring people together. Now, if you think you could ask a couple of people to go get lunch, hit the like button. Doesn't have to be 20 people, 2. Could you go invite 2 people to come join you for lunch? Hit the like button. So those are 3 things I did that I think were really helpful. I joined a lot of groups to cast a wide net. From there, I narrowed down to get to know some people one-on-one, and then I invited those people and others into a lunch invite. So that's what helped. But then a little bonus tip, there's something else I did that was a really nice mix of business and deepening relationships at the same time, and that was hosting a mini mastermind. For my business friends, let me just tell you, this was a real bonus win. For those of you who maybe have never heard of a mastermind, they're very common in the entrepreneurial space. They are essentially a time where people get together and one person at a time gets in the hot seat and shares a problem or thing that they're needing feedback on in their business, and then everyone else brainstorms ideas, etc. It's amazing collaboration. It's sort of a brain trust. You get ideas you wouldn't think of. You hear of problems that hadn't arisen that you can now solve. Like, it's very helpful. But most of these are done as these very expensive pay-to-play. I'm talking like 5+ figure price tags. And they're week-long quarterly events or weekend quarterly events or etc., where you're having to spend like 3 days in a spot because 20 people are going. And yes, great, that's a lot of feedback that you get. But I realized I don't need to pay for it to get the help, and I don't need weeks of time. There are ways I can do this myself. Now, I'm not knocking masterminds that you pay for. There are benefits to some of them. I think some are grossly overpriced, but there are benefits. But a lot of what those have, I realized I could do that in an afternoon. Like, this doesn't need to take all this time. So I decided to host what I called a mini mastermind. It was one Friday afternoon. I invited 3 other business owners over from one of these groups and let them know ahead of time, this is what you're committing to. We each get, I think it was like 15, 20 minutes to present what's going on in our business, that one problem we need help with, and then each of us got time to go around and share what we thought they could do to help with that issue. So we'd each get about an hour, including the break, and then when we were all done, we would go out for dinner. And we did this twice, and it was super helpful for business. It provided an opportunity to get closer to some of these women, to learn what's going on in their businesses, but it didn't have to take days. We did it in an afternoon. So this was a way to then take kind of that larger lunch group and then make it smaller again in just a very specific amount of time. So this was just a bonus thing that I did last year that I really enjoyed, and I thought it was worth sharing with you. If you don't own a business and you're like, well, this doesn't work for me, maybe it's an accountability accountability group for something. Maybe it's a craft night that you host once a quarter with a group of 5 friends or something like that. Like, the idea is you made the big group, now we make another small group for certain things. You make a smaller group for certain things if you want. I just thought it was worth throwing this out there. If you want more info on that mini mastermind and how I did it, maybe like a PDF guide walking you through it and the emails I sent, etc., will you let me know in the comments? If people say that, just put PDF and I'll know. I'll create that. But I just don't know if that's something people are interested in or not, so let me know. Okay, so those are the things I did. Let's talk about some lessons I learned that I think could help you. Again, relationships take intention. Now, I said this at the beginning too. They take a little bit of work, not hard work, but work. It takes intention to sit down and send an email. It takes intention to say, hey, do you want to get on a Zoom? Here are some dates available on my calendar. Or organizing a lunch, but it's not overwhelming. Honestly, putting together those lunches took about 20 minutes of planning at the beginning and 10 minutes every month to remember to like send out an email and send out a reminder message. That's it. But those small, consistent efforts built real and meaningful connections. That's the hardest step, is saying, okay, I'm gonna block out 15 minutes of time right now to go invite people to something. But once you do, the benefits are so much stronger and so much bigger than that 15 minutes. Okay, next, a big theme if you've been listening to all the episodes in this series, make effort, not force. Again, not everyone is interested in going deeper in friendship with me, and that's okay. And they might not be with you, and that's okay. So we're gonna put in effort. I'm gonna invite people to lunch. But when they say no a bunch of times, or they don't respond, I'm not gonna keep inviting. Or if they never message me for anything, why am I putting in all the effort? So focus your energy on the people who are excited to connect with you. One last thing I'll say is that taking these steps last year, joining a big group, talking one-on-one, inviting a group to lunch, taught me that I am not the only one craving connection. I think we know that now. That's why you're watching this video or listening to this podcast episode. Now, you too might be craving connection, and if so, I do have a free guide. It's a connection messages guide. I will say it's more for building your business relationships, but in my head, business relationships are also friendships. They're just in your business world, so they can still work for you. You can find a link to it down in the description box below or in the show notes. And honestly, that guide is just a ton of templates, of swipe files, if you will, that you can copy paste and use for yourself to connect with people and start taking these relationships further. Okay, we have one episode left in this series, so until next time, please remember, people make life better. Keep showing up, experiment, and invite others into your life. There are people out there who will receive that invitation and be so glad you asked. What if this could be the year you finally build the relationships you've been craving? And yes, if you're watching on video, I am holding a dog because he's been whining. And if you're not watching on video, if you're listening, this is a reason to watch on video because you get to see said cute dog. Say hi, I just went to the groomer. Okay, so back to you. This year can be your year to make new friends as an adult. Not the surface level ones, but the ones who really make life better. So stick with me because today I'm giving you the blueprint for building friendships in 2025. Imagine a year where you feel supported, understood, connected. Well, today we are pulling together strategies to make that vision a reality. So let's walk through some key steps that will guide you to stronger, more meaningful friendships in 2025. Or frankly, 2026, 27, whenever you're watching this. Step 1, you gotta get clear on what you want. It helps to start by identifying the types of friendships you want in your life. You know, do you need more friends at work? I will be very honest, in my mid-20s, I realized I had a ton of friends outside of work, but I had really kind of isolated at work and I needed to get work friends back again. So maybe it's, oh, I need some more friends during my office time, or, you know, I'm a new mom. I'm not a new mom. I'm saying you might say this, like, I'm a new mom and I'd like to make friends with some other new moms. I'm the only one of my friends that has a kid. That could be you. Or you could be the only one who doesn't have kids and you're like, I need to meet some other people because I'm not a mom. Right? It could be anything. But think through who you want in your life, and then with that, what values matter to you in your relationships? Now, the one caveat I will say on all of this is I would not go on the hunt for a best friend. I think best friends, or if you think we're too old to say best friend, deep, close friendships, you know, that inner circle, I think that comes over time. And I will say basically never in my life has it been the person I thought it would be. Those are relationships that just happen to deepen, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's the person I'm closest to. But I think if you go on the hunt for a best friend, you won't find them. Again, this all goes back to the same things we say in romantic relationship advice, but we just never put it towards friendships. You know, they always say, oh, you'll find the love of your life when you're not looking for him. Like if you're on the hunt for him, you're not gonna find him. There's some in between to that, in all honesty, I think. But that idea of like, you can't force a best friendship. Effort, not force, as we keep talking about here. I think I've beat this horse dead, so we'll move on. So define your friendship goals is just a good first step. It gives us a direction to point in. You know, do you want more hiking buddies? Do you want someone to play pickleball with? Are you looking for, like I said, work friends? Now, remember in my own story that I shared last week, I thought it would be friends at church, and I have started to make more inroads in that direction now, but I had to look outside of that to other areas of my life where I could make friends. And so don't choose just one narrow area, but see a couple of different areas where you are looking for friends, so we have some direction to go in instead of just, I want to make friends out in the world. And now we go join groups and find communities around these things that we're interested in. So this could be an ongoing class. This could be joining an association or a club of some kind, a membership. Any of those sorts of things are great places to start. Showing up in spaces where people share your interests naturally opens doors to connection. And with this, remember, try and find places where connection can happen organically, where people are more open to talking and chatting with you. So this is why it should be an ongoing class, not a one-off class. Also, I will say, as I've started digging into this, there are new groups popping up. I'm getting Instagram ads for groups popping up to help you make friends. One is just these one-off dinners from a company called Time Left. I think I'm gonna go investigate these. But another one, I wanna say it's called Real Rooted. It has the word rooted in it. You meet with a group of 6 people and then you do 6 different activities with them because they recognize one-off things aren't gonna do it. So maybe it's trying one of these things. Maybe it's seeing if there's some sort of like friendship group in your area. Facebook has a lot of these too, but what I've seen is the ones that are just general, like here we have Scottsdale Girlfriends or Phoenix Girlfriends. Those don't work as well as like Phoenix Girlfriends walking group. Like, great, I'm gonna go get a walk and I get to go meet some people. One that's just like, let's make friends tends to be a little too general. So try and find some groups in your area that meet more than one time so that you can start building relationships. And then step 3, as we enter into this process, let's do a gut check on some of those myths we tend to hold on to. One of those that I think happens a lot, friendship has to be instant. You know, you go to the hiking club or the walking group one time and people were, you know, said hi, but they didn't really warm up and you didn't really click with anyone right in that moment, so I'm not gonna go again. Y'all, this is so easy to do. I have done this myself. You have to show up again. Friendship isn't instant. People are very guarded. We are all more guarded. I don't exactly know why, but we're all more guarded now. So it might probably will take more than one time. So show up again. Remind yourself it's not going to be instant. Now there are some other myths you might need to bust or some common beliefs that we want to pretend we don't have. If you need to have a refresher, if you missed that episode, just do a little gut check with yourself. I'll put a link to it in the description box and the show notes, and I'll put a card to it right here if you want to go check that out. But for now, just remember, it's probably not going to be instant. This is going to take time. Then as we start going to these groups, let's start taking those relationships deeper. So once you've made those initial connections, it's time to nurture them. Ask deeper questions, share more about yourself, start asking people to one-on-one things like maybe grabbing coffee or getting on a Zoom chat, taking a little break in the afternoon from the workday. See if you can start to get to know people on a deeper level. Now, I think sometimes this is where we have an issue where we go, I want to go deep with people, and we want them all of a sudden to like give up all their most vulnerable moments very quickly. No, I'm talking about like, let's just get to know them better. It's not just the surface level, how was your week? Now we learn a little bit more about them by getting one-on-one on a call. And then the more you do that, the deeper you can go. This is where friendships start to shift from casual to meaningful. If you've done something to take friendships next level, let us know in the comments. What is it that you've done? It doesn't have to be crazy. It could be, yeah, I always ask people for coffee, or I found asking people time of day that works best for them has helped make friendships, because then I know to say, let's get a morning coffee, or let's meet for happy hour, depending on who the person is. Whatever it is, share it in the comments. Let's help each other out. So step 5, stay consistent. Consistency is key. Honestly, consistency is the key to a lot of life. When people ask my advice on a lot of different areas, I'm like, oh, it's consistency. You want to lose weight? Be consistent in trying to lose weight. You want to excel at social media or at YouTube? Keep showing up every week. Stay consistent. You want to build friendships? Stay consistent. It's really a key in life, but consistency is key in taking these relationships further, because again, it's not about meeting once a month at an industry meeting or at the Mommy and Me class and then not talking for a month. It's about the follow-ups. It's about keeping in touch and checking in and saying, how are things going, or thought of you today. Those little gestures over time, building in that consistency of not just showing up at the place for every hiking group walk or industry meeting, but checking in over time. Those touch points build connection and with them trust. So that might look like scheduling regular check-ins. Like, y'all, again, without intention, we forget these very simple things. So you might add to your to-do list, text friend, and every day you just send a how's it going message to a different friend. Do what you have to do to build in consistency. Honestly, a lot of friendship is not about grand gestures. It's about being present over time. So find ways to be consistent in showing up in your friendships. Don't get it twisted. I am not saying you have to like every Thursday I text this person, but just building this people first mentality of checking in with people in general is going to build the consistency that people start reaching out to you and we start creating deeper relationships that we've been looking for. So there is your friendship blueprint for the year. Get clear on the types of friendships you want, join spaces where like-minded people gather, overcome the myths that hold you back, nurture connections deeply, stay consistent, and surround yourself with a supportive community. Now, let me know in the comments your next step. Are you sending a message? Are you joining a group? Whatever it is, write it in the comments. I would love to cheer you on. And with that, I will see you next week with a new episode.